Well, hello, and welcome to the Waking Up Spiritually podcast with my co host, Greg Kirk. We're so thrilled to welcome you to our fifth anniversary special. I'm Wendy Rose Williams, and the purpose of Waking Up Spiritually is to help curious souls make sense of those experiences, those spiritual awakening experiences, those glimpses beyond the veil, and more. So, we're here to be a support for you. I'm a past life energy healer. I help people release pain, anxiety, depression, and stuck energy so that you can feel a lot happier, a lot healthier, and enjoy your purpose. And my website is wendyrosewilliams.com. And there you can learn how to work together with me privately. So again, congratulations, Greg. I am so thrilled and thank you for all that you've done. And thank you to our listeners. We're just excited to dive into our five-year anniversary special here.
Yes. Thank you, Wendy. It's been a pleasure, and it just keeps going and going. It's great. we never run out of things to talk about, which amazes me. But and lately, we've been having some really amazing guests. So we'll get into that. We'll get into some of our
Yes.
episodes highlights over the past year. Anyway, but I'm Greg Kirk. I'm a energy worker, a Lyme disease advocate. Certified health and wellness practitioner. I do energy healing remotely and in person. I have an office in Connecticut, but I do remote sessions anywhere in the world, actually. And I also run online group healing circles via Zoom, as well as in-person fire circles and in the Connecticut area. So if you're interested in any of this, you can go to my website, which is my name, Greg, GREGGKIRK.com. Click the events tab to see the events I've got going on, or just click the appointment request link and to set up a phone call. If you're curious, if you don't know what you want, we can do a quick 15-minute phone call just to kind of establish what's going on. And we go from there. So, Wendy, I've got our new deck up, and would you like to explain to people
Fantastic. So Greg's going to bring up a PowerPoint. So you're so welcome to listen via the podcast apps or however you like to check out your podcasts, but we do have a visual component to this, and there is a PowerPoint, and everything is archived, recorded and archived. All the podcasts can be found at wakingupspiritually.com. You can click on the broadcast tab, or you can use the search button for whatever you need help with, whether it's spirit guides, clearing your energy, past life releases, disease issues, whatever it might be, healing. So you just go from there.
Yes. So here are our episodes over the last year. And we reached some milestones this year. We've gone up to 85 broadcasts total. Also, our podcast. Now, as Wendy said, we're available in a lot of different venues. We started off as just only having a Facebook group, but we have a YouTube channel, and we've got the 85 episodes are on the YouTube channel, as well as we're available via podcasts. So we're on all the podcast apps, and our podcasts have generated more than 10,000 downloads as of just a few months ago. So that's a great milestone. So here's the roster. So in this past year, we did 13 episodes. So Wendy and I originally started off doing 2 episodes per month, and then we scaled back. I think it was sometime after the second year where we went to once a month, but we usually throw in an off or an episode as needed, and
can be special dates and times, particularly with guest schedules.
Right. And sometimes, there's a month where one of us is on vacation or doing something else, and we don't do it that month, but we double up on the next month, and, all those things happen. But anyway, so we don't really need to talk about the 4th year anniversary episode, because it was more or less an episode like this where we reviewed what was going on and talked about the highlights of the episodes the prior year. But the episode we did after that, which was on June 10th of 2024, was the second in a series of episodes we've done for paranormal experiences. So we've had photographs and videos and things like that that Wendy and I have put together, as well as our friends or relatives. And then we also have had viewer input as well, photographs and some spectacular videos. One listener in particular who has sent us multiple videos of the wild orb activity going on in his house. So we decided on this episode to do something that's kind of a trend on YouTube, where it's it's the first time viewing videos. There's a lot of those where I collected all the stuff. I mean, Wendy had some input as well, but the latter half of the episode was Wendy's reaction to these amazing things. It was a lot of fun.
Which I
And
hadn't seen before. So that therefore the first viewing.
exactly. So it was a lot of amazing stuff. This episode was also our first time live on YouTube. So we've been doing that for almost a year now. So for some reason, we used to do Facebook Live, but Facebook no longer lets you have your own videos. That's not entirely true, but it's easier to get access to your own videos, your live videos via YouTube. So that's why we made the switch. But anyway, Wendy, so to me, the highlight of that that episode was the viewer input. He gave us so much more, several videos of orb activity. It looked like an orb waterfall. There was some videos of him throwing a ball in his living room with his dog, and then the orbs were following his dog. He did another video where he put the word "I love you" on a sticky note, put it next to the camera, and these orbs came in and did like loop-de-loops in front of the camera, responding to that. And then we saw things that didn't look like orbs. They look like big pieces of yarn, kind of like following his wife, as she was bending down and doing some work, or looking for something in a room, and just things I'd never seen before. Do you have any recollections?
Yes, just that's a great recap. It was just really, really interesting. I particularly loved the response to the "I love you," and it made me think of the famous was it Dr. Inamoto? I might not have the name quite right. With
Masaru Emoto.
yes, with the different experiments with water and
Yes.
just how to change water. So and just putting that love out there in the world. I mean, it truly changes energy and changes what's around you. And I just thought that was an amazing depiction of that. That was my favorite part.
Yeah, it changes what comes to you too. Yeah. So the next month, July 8th, we did a live channeling. So Wendy, I'm sure you'll have a lot to talk about with this, but this was the fourth in a series of Wendy channeling. This time was a combination of Yeshua, Mother Mary, and Mary Magdalene.
Yes, and I'll just say it's just such a privilege to have the ascended masters come in, to have the angels come in, and I just never know what will come through. And that's the purpose of it, is to just do your best to be a clear channel for that amazing love and wisdom. And also they're funny. So just that sense of humor and that joy and just that buoyancy to the divine and to the other side, because they're not, I'm hesitating to use the word burdened. They're not weighed down by the human body and our mind and our ego. So it's a different type of energy, because the soul just knows that it's eternal. So there's just that lightness of being to it.
Yeah. A highlight for me, it kind of goes along with what you're saying about humor, because this was the answer to this was like delivered in a light way. But I asked a question about midway through because it always seems like we're in a pivotal time in the world. It always seems like something really big is happening. And this was several months before the election, and there was a lot of turmoil in the United States, across the world as well. And and so um, I asked the question, what there's some people who believe we should wait and have either authorities do the right thing or wait for the second coming or wait for something to land before the good times are going to happen or whatever, the age of Aquarius. And I think I used the word cavalry. When's the cavalry going to come? And I don't remember who was who was you were channeling at that particular moment, but possibly Yeshua. It was, yeah, you are the cavalry, and then laughed. You are the one you're waiting for. So that was
Mhm.
it was a good message, and I like how it was delivered too.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah,
Exactly, exactly. Because yes, it just doesn't make any sense to be sitting back on the sidelines and judging and blaming and assessing. It's like it's it is the inside job of we've just got to do what feels right to us and be stepping to the plate. I mean, that famous quote from the Bible where he talked about everything that he had been able to do, we're capable of that and so much more. And I
yes,
think it was just as you said, just like a light, humorous, you can do it,
yeah,
uh, just step to the plate. And perhaps it's going to mean self-governance in some ways that we haven't seen before, and we just need to keep raising our vibration and frequency to be to be capable of that, and just reaching out to friends, family, neighbors, etc., to just be helping one another, and knowing who's around you, and who needs you, and who can help you.
right. I like to say life is not a spectator sport, so you're here to participate, right?
There you go.
Right.
Exactly. That was
So,
one of the things that I said. I just did a wonderful conversation on a podcast yesterday where I was the guest, and when I was talking about making that crucial decision after my second NDE within a couple of days, because I had two within a week while I was pregnant with my youngest daughter. And when I made the decision, when Archangel Michael said to me, it's your choice, what do you want to do? What I said was, it was an old song my dad always talked about, and I said, put me back in, coach. I'm ready to play.
oh yeah, the John
And
Fogerty song. Yeah,
right. And I just meant I was going to do my best to engage with life at a deeper level.
yeah,
Because it's just a privilege to be here, and we chose it, and I think we're really meant to just make the best of it, and keep our sense of humor.
right. Well, the next month, in August 12th, 2024, this was actually Wendy's idea of me talking about uh, my experience with Lyme disease and how that turned, how, well, the whole thing from going from disease and feel like you're dying, wanting to die, into a spiritual experience and then a life changing experience ultimately. I, it never occurred to me to talk about that on this, during our show. I did, for almost an hour and a half. And, to my surprise, it's become one of our most watched episodes. I didn't expect that. So, yeah, I don't know what else to say other than,
Well, it's a really inspirational story. And of course, you didn't think of it, Greg, because you're too close to it.
yeah, right,
And you live that. It's just such a part of who you are, but it really is just such an excellent example of, I don't have a more profound expression right now than just making the most beautiful lemonade ever out of what felt, I'm sure, very bitter, and like the most bitter lemons ever. And what do you do with it? And we're we're not meant to be here with no challenges, because there wouldn't be any growth, there wouldn't be any joy of just, there wouldn't be any progress. So it's not meant to be easy street. But some people absolutely do choose the e-ticket ride at Disney. It used to be, those were the big rides, the big scary rides was the e-ticket rides.
Right.
And I think you chose one of those lives in a lot of ways, and have just had such grace and dignity and humility with it. I highly recommend Greg's book, The Gratitude Curve, and I'm looking forward to your sequel and your upcoming book, Greg.
That's very kind of you. That's why we're podcast partners. You're very, very, thank you so much. And yeah, more or less that episode was me kind of telling what's in the gratitude curve, the book that I wrote. Obviously in much less detail, but yeah, no, the to me, telling the story is all about not a tale of woe, um, hopefully a tale of hope, and then hopefully good information for people, because I gave some kind of tactical and practical information about what to do. How did I get better? I kind of gave some of the recipe of that. So if you're watching this episode and you've not seen that one, I highly, and you've got Lyme disease, or you have a friend who has Lyme or is having struggles, I recommend going back to that, and of course contacting me, to see what I can do to help, because it's this illness is very complex. It's tough to get diagnosed, tough to get treated properly, tough to get into remission, tough to stay in remission. That's the other trick. You can get into remission. Sometimes it's not easy to stay there if you have a lifestyle that's very stressed out, you're not eating properly, and you're not taking good care of yourself. You're going to fall back into the illness mode anyway. And that's what happened to me. So I know all this because I experienced it, not because I'm, some.
Not theory. You lived it, and you lived that beautiful metamorphosis.
Exactly.
Perhaps is my best word for that.
That's a good word. Yes. Yes. Great. So the next month, September, we had a really amazing guest, Sharon Sunanda Kumara. You've done some work with her, Wendy, I believe.
She's a wonderful friend, and yes,
Yeah,
we've done a lot of different things together. She's one of those beautiful people who has such a connection with Yeshua, with Jesus, and had she had multiple near-death experiences, but as an adult, she shared a profound one, where she fell out of the back of a bus after just this wonderful day river rafting with friends. And the bus was just overcrowded, and the back door didn't hold. And she fell out of that back door. And then, to add insult to injury, she got run over by the trailer that was holding all the energy.
boats. Oh, yeah.
So it was just a profound story of what happened as she popped out of her body as she was laying there on the highway about to be run over by other vehicles, and what she experienced. So what were some of your takeaways from that amazing conversation,
That
Greg?
one hasn't left me because of how profound. But the thing that really amazed me that she had an experience during one of her NDEs, that she has a parallel life right now,
Mhm.
and it's an aquatic life on an aquatic planet where she's more or less like a mer type person, non-human, but lives in the water with her family. And she had the experience of being with her family and all the love that she felt with her family members there. That didn't leave me. That was super cool. The other thing that's amazing to me is the next month. I don't want to jump too far ahead. We had another amazing guest, Tony Rodriguez. Sharon had had experiences with him, so she had had interactions with him. Not, I don't know if supernatural, but so she was one of the people who commented after we posted Tony's amazing interview, and she vouched for Tony, and she really had some connection with him. But yeah, that life, that aquatic life, that was an eye opener to me. It was amazing. I haven't forgotten it. Very cool. Yeah. Well, so I kind of gave it away that the next episode was with Tony Rodriguez. Tony, I've been a bit of a fan, but a follower for sure of Tony's story ever since I came across it almost maybe 9 or 10 years ago, of his experience um, being abducted and brought into the secret space program, also, but this special program that he claims with tons of evidence of the military has the ability to do something called a 20 and back, where you can live 20 years of your life and they can bring you back to the exact moment where you were pulled into the program. So he was a 9-year-old boy who got pulled into the program and then went through these off-world experiences on the moon in Ceres, which is a moon outside of Mars, I believe. All these colonies, towns, and businesses are existing, hundreds of thousands of not just humans but other people living there. I don't know how much we talked about that, but anyway, Tony went through all these experiences. Obviously, this is the kind of stuff. It's one thing to have a UFO experience or an abduction experience, but this stuff was
It's
it's
beyond. It's
mind bending.
exactly.
Yeah. So initially when it came out, it only resonated with other people who were open to it or who had these experiences. So Tony, so this is how to me I know he's a legit guy. His reaction was like I had with Lyme disease. The patients are not being served well by the medical community and anyone else. So he has been helping hundreds of people who have had these experiences, and there's hundreds into the thousands, who help them remember what they've been going through, because these were difficult experiences, traumatic in a lot of ways. Not always, he said he's run into some people who enjoyed their experiences, but your memory gets wiped clean. Very similar, he said, to, well, there's many ways they do it, through drugs or through a device almost similar to what they've got in the Men in Black movie, where they just put this thing up to your face and then your memory goes blank. But that kind of thing happens, and then people start having dreams, and the memories start leaking. Not always, but it happens. So he helps those people because it can be traumatic. And he's also helping people with remote viewing, and he's having some spectacular results with remote viewing classes. Just amazing evidence that he's finding with his group. He's found other people. They meet on a regular basis. So look Tony up. He's an amazing guy. So fortunate we had him. Just an eye opener of an interview, and that was on September 20th of 24. What
Yes, and it really was a message of hope, of healing, of just really a triumph of the human spirit over what initially um, it bothered me at a deep level, because it was to me it felt like a violation. It is a
Yeah.
violation of sovereignty
Very much. Yeah.
of a child.
Yeah.
And that just bothered me at the deepest level. So to
Yeah.
just hear, what he had overcome and had done, through that, and just helping others. And it's the same thing for individuals who've had very challenging, traumatic, disturbing childhoods, in particular, where there's been childhood abuse or neglect or parental alcoholism, violence, losing parents, whatever it's been. But it really is a triumph of the human spirit, and just working through that, and being better, stronger, wiser, more courageous because of what happened. So that was my takeaway with it.
Yeah. Yeah. He's an amazing guy, and he's very humble, and he's not telling this story because there's other people in that community who are kind of like bragging about their stories as being like a super soldier or whatever. And he's not doing that at all. That's to me how I know
The humility.
the
Mhm.
humility is he's coming from the right place, and he's trying to help people. So that's amazing. Anyway, the next month, October 14th, Wendy and I did an episode on releasing past life energy. So it was more or less a chock full episode of sessions that you've done, sessions that I've done over the course of our practitioner history, that are some highlights and amazing stories that we wanted to tell of people releasing their past life traumas or blocks, or just even the memories. Just bringing the memories up sometimes is a release. The karmic releases, all of that stuff. And yeah, yeah. So I mean, there's plenty of things. Do you have some memories of what you talked about, Wendy?
I'd just like to say life can absolutely be more enjoyable, be better, be happier, be healthier, be more centered and grounded when we get those past life releases from that lifetime of origin, and just releasing pain, anxiety, depression, stuck energy. It's a game changer. So
Yeah,
I'll just say that.
yeah,
And I get the privilege and the joy and the tears and the fun and the laughter with clients regularly, as well as all my own work in that area. And Greg, I've really appreciated and benefited from some sessions that we've done,
mm-hmm.
uh, and where I've had past life energy releases. So
Right. And I've written about our session that we had in my book, The Gratitude Curve. There were
yes, yeah,
multiple past lives that came up for me in that. So I'm obviously I'm very grateful for that
yeah.
experience with you and the info that came up. So amazing stuff. Excuse me. So the next November 11th, 11/11/24, we had this is kind of a little bit of a shifting of gears. We had Nels Rasmussen, who does his patients are mostly animals. And what a super cool shifting of gears it was to hear. He's got a radio show, or he's on a radio show. He does a lot of remote sessions with pet owners and their pets, where they do things via Zoom. And he had some really cool stories to tell. And Wendy, I believe this is another situation where didn't you either call into Nell's show or you?
I've worked with Nels for years. He's been a
Okay.
friend for years. He's featured regularly on Martha Norwalk's Animal World, which is on Sunday mornings on KKNW in Seattle, but you can get it other ways. But it's called Animal World.
Yeah.
And yes, so Nels did multiple sessions and helped me many times with my cat Midnight.
Yeah.
I had for 20 years. And Midnight was the physically healthiest cat I'd ever had. But he was working on, because I believe animals, their soul has a mission too. Yes, it can be very interwoven with ours. That's why they seek us out, and we find each other often in unusual, neat ways. But Midnight had a lot of past life energy to release. And he was absolutely a warrior. He was my protector.
Yeah.
So he had taken on a fair bit of psychic attack energy and debris and things, just letting me be able to do my work freely. So I had a cat who was just like a Black Panther or like a big guard dog. That was the energy from that cat.
Yeah.
So Nels had helped me with Midnight multiple times because of things that were problematic and troubling for my guard cat dog.
Right. Right. If you look back in some of our very early episodes, Midnight would just kind of show up and plop down in front of the camera on your side
Yes,
to
yes, yes.
make a presence.
Exactly. So just very, very grateful to Nels. And Nels has a deep background originally as a chiropractor. He's now a retired chiropractor, and it's been multiple generations through his family. So I saw him as a client and drove a good long distance out to see him in person the first time. He was the first person who ever was able to address. I have significant leg length difference, which can make walking, standing just uncomfortable. And he was the first person, and he said, wow, just a lot of tightness, fear, anxiety, all caught up in that right hip. And he
Hmm.
was able to just talk to it, just do gentle manipulation, just a gentle tug and pull. And when I stood up, I was like, oh my God. It was like, what a difference to like be really, really in balance for one of the first times in my life. Because I've got severe scoliosis, curvature of the spine. So it can throw off the hips and the shoulders and just all your alignment. Uh,
Right. Wow.
I saw him as a patient. And then once I learned he did remote sessions, I was like, okay, we're going to do this on the phone.
Yeah. Yeah.
We did multiple sessions with me as the patient. I also hired him on behalf of other animals and humans. So we did quite a lot of work together over the years.
Wow. Wow. Well, his episode's very good. So, check that out on November
He's
11th,
also a
2024.
great teacher, and he has some courses and teaches you, how to lay hands on your animal and help get them out of that fight or flight that they can get stuck in where they're just not settling. So if you've got a dog that's just barking and pulling on leash and you just can't figure out what's going on, fight or flight is often what's been triggered and they can't get out of it. So it's a nervous system reset, the Rasmussen reset, he calls it.
Nice. So the next episode was in December, on December 9th, 2024, last episode of the year. And we did our annual episode with Debbie Buss, the true sidereal astrologist from the UK. She's a lovely person. She always has great input on what we can expect for the next year. And I flipped through that episode real quick just to refresh my memory. The big word she had for 2025 was elevate. Elevate. So, the raising up of energies, thoughts, whatever, emotions. The number 9 was big. And she said right around this time, actually coming up mid-June to September, there's because of Saturn and Neptune, the arrangements of those two planets, there's going to be our opportunities for manifestations are big. So this is a timely timely thing for me to mention and to come across because that was in the middle of that episode. So it was kind of coincidental or not that I flipped through that episode and saw that
Yes, just a
just in time for
beautiful.
us to pre-warn or what, not warn, but
Take
preempt.
it, enjoy it, take advantage of it, take those
Yeah,
steps to move forward with new adventures and just let that energy come in and that astrology buoy you up.
yeah.
uh, and I've worked with Debbie also for years. She's done multiple readings for me. It's not only the astrology, it's the numerology. She's also got a deep background in healthcare and traditional healthcare. And just as Greg said, a lovely, lovely person. And she's actually featured in my third book, in Regression Healing 2, Joe in Maryland. She looked at the numerology and astrology for me, looking at my information related to Joe DiMaggio's. So
Mm,
it's a really cool wrap up to the book.
cool. Very cool. Well, we look forward to having her on at the end of this year.
Yes, that's become an annual episode, and Debbie was our first ever guest.
She was, yeah. That was something Wendy and I had when we first started the podcast. We decided we would not have any interviews. We would not interview another guest. We would not bring on a guest because we had so much to talk about, and we did. And like I said earlier, I think it went into 2.5 years before you brought up Debbie, and I thought, hey, why not? That sounds great. She's a lovely person. Let's bring her on. And then we didn't have another guest for quite a while, but now, if you look, this year we've had more guests than we've ever had, and it's worked out great. So we're just going with the flow.
New phase.
Yes, and so the next month, so we didn't do one in January, but in February we interviewed Julie Ryan, and she was one of those amazing, episodes where I learned something, or a lot of what she said was unforgettable. So she is somebody who helps people with end of life. You could probably have a more accurate description of what she
Julie
does.
is a force of nature.
Yes.
She is a psychic medium, and she does so many different programs and services. And she's also been a serial solopreneur. She's had 4 or 5 very successful businesses in different industries, which
Yeah.
is just unheard of. She has multiple patents for medical devices, and but yet is not a doctor or a nurse in this lifetime. And just hearing her talk and the healing energy, and I just knew, I was like, she's been a physician, she's been a healer, she's done this multiple times, because here she is in the OR coming up with these life-saving medical devices. I thought, oh, you've so done this so many times before.
Right.
We had a past life regression on air with our friend Simon Bown, who we're going to talk about. And guess what came through? Of course, her past lives as physicians.
Okay. Yeah. Makes a ton of sense. What?
So specifically, she helps with what's called the angelic attendants that come in as someone is passing on.
Yes.
And that is just a really big deal, particularly in countries like the US that don't tend to have a good culture around end of life, around dying, around passing on. There tends to be a lot of fear, misinformation. And she just, her book is beautiful. And anyone who does a session with Julie, you get a free copy of her book, Angelic Attendants, that just kind of walks you through all that incredible help from family members on the other side as you pass on.
Yeah. My big takeaway was the detailed organization of these attendants that come around you.
Yes.
As your death experiences is progressing. So, the things that stood out for me for what she said was the first one to come is a nurturing person, usually a female, who has already passed. So if your mother has passed, it would be your mother, but it doesn't have to be. It could be any, a grandmother or anybody motherly from who had given you comfort. That's the first person that shows up, and then it goes into the sequence of other attendants that includes animals and pets. Sometimes not your own pets. If you had a great relationship with your neighbor's dog, for instance, and that your neighbor's dog passed you, that dog shows up as well as some of the attendants. So I learned so much from it. It's so cool. Great episode that happened on February 10th of this year. So, and then speaking of Simon, how do you pronounce his last name?
Down.
Bound. Okay. Simon Bound we had on March 10th. And he's got, amazing story as well. So he had just written his book. It hadn't been released yet. So it was good timing for his book, which his book is amazing. So he is somebody who has verified, so many of these near-death experiences. And as we were in the middle of talking about some of these, Wendy and I think you and I were almost speechless at one point because he started telling a story of an experience he had where he just kind of phased out of I don't remember what he was doing. He was during a meditation or was during some sort of regression, hypnosis situation of this spectacular session that he had where he went to another world and then dropped back into his apartment where he lived. And it was, I just remember, after he told that story, all I could say, and you were silent, I just said, wow. So that story is in the middle of all these really amazing stories that he told of, these documented near death experiences.
Exactly. And I love that Simon found a niche of to write specifically about verified near-death experiences where there's another person that's shared in this experience, or there's medical data, or however it's been verified.
Right.
So it's a wonderful, wonderful book. And Simon is also a prolific podcaster. He's done over 800 episodes. Um,
Wow.
he has two podcasts. So it's something to check out. His original podcast was called the Past Lives Podcast. And I had the good fortune to be one of his early guests, and then was a guest on there 8 or 9 times. So that's how he and I became friends. He's also a musician, like Greg,
Mhm.
and a past life regressionist healer. And the sessions that I had with Simon, those were the ones that also closed out my experiences that I wrote about with Joe DiMaggio and Marilyn Monroe. So they're included in the end of my book. So that's another kind of look into the wonderful work that Simon does, but just very humble, grounded gentleman who's had some amazing, amazing guests on his podcasts.
Yes. The next month, actually, no, it was still in March 24th, we interviewed Shannon Torrance, who is a voice actor. And she
Yes,
had this wild story where she was in the middle of, you know, some success as being a voice actress. And then she lost her voice.
yeah,
And
she
so,
had just worked. I mean, that is a very competitive field. So, I mean, there
yeah,
she was living in LA, and she'd worked and worked and worked for 20 years to become successful in that area. And she just loved it. And then she lost her voice, but it was not a short-term thing. It was for 3 years. And that just, I mean, talk about a dark night of the soul,
yeah, the
because
dark several
it,
years of the soul.
right,
Yeah.
it's just a really, really big deal. So she just had to go to ground zero of how am I going to survive? How am I going to make a living? Who am I? What is my identity? And she now helps people in that arena. So she became a psychic medium, because that's what came up for her, and it was something that she could do, was to just study in that area, and just open herself in that area, because that's what was coming up. So she's now a coach. She's a voice acting coach, as well as gives just wonderful insights as a psychic medium, because I've had the benefit of trading sessions with her, and have done past life regressions for her, which she kindly shared publicly. And guess what they pertain to? Voice and throat injuries.
Interesting.
Getting that
Yeah.
getting that cleared, and the fear getting, because the fear can just get stuck any place in our body. But that is a common place.
My takeaway or remembrance from that episode was her talking about how she went through training, kind of psychic training or intuition training, and how it's just it's not something it's not rote learning where you learn steps and you do this. It's just more or less
Immersive.
yeah, you thrown in the water to learn how to swim. She described how that was, where they would sometimes blindfold you or put you in front of another person and say, all right, tell me about this person, just feel it. And it's such a great I've had those type of training as well. That's the best way to do it, in my experience, and it was super cool. And she kind of did a bit of a reading on me, where she said, "Greg, you play guitar, right?" And I'm like, "Yes." So that was very cool, very memorable. So our next episode was in April, was with Dave Sanderson.
One other quick point
Oh,
about
right.
Shannon.
Yeah.
We took a neat loop and a twirl in that conversation, like you do in any good organic conversation. And Shannon also talked about recovery from sex and romance addiction.
Oh, right. Yeah.
That was just really profound.
Yeah.
Uh, and just I wasn't expecting to have that be part of our conversation, but that again is something where she helps individuals and does healing and coaching for them in that area, having had direct experience in that area herself.
Right. I forgot about that. Thanks for bringing that
Yes.
up. Yeah, that was an important part of the conversation. You're right. So, yes, next month, April, we interviewed Dave Sanderson, the guy who went through the Miracle on the Hudson experience, where the plane went down, crash landed on the Hudson River, and everyone survived. And he was pivotal in helping. He was the last person out. And he would
Exactly.
describe in detail the multiple miracles that happened. One of them being he was in 36-degree water for several hours, and he needed hospital treatment afterwards, but it should have killed him. That's just one thing that happened, and he described multiple other things. But as not everybody goes through these experiences and realizes the spiritual significance or has a spiritual awakening as a result of these things, but he did. And so he's changed his career. He goes around the world now speaking about this experience and helping people wake up, to their own spiritual experiences, their attributes, basically showing the magic in life that's happening before you if you just change your perspective. Really cool stuff.
Dave has a beautiful, really strong faith in God. And when I first heard about the miracle on the Hudson and the last passenger off, I just pictured someone in the last row. And that is not what the situation was. Dave had every opportunity to get off that plane much earlier, which he started to do, but then he heard his deceased mom's voice. And she said, go back and help, go back and help. So the aisle was just clogged, of course, with people trying to get to the exits and trying to get, because the plane was sinking almost immediately. And he climbed over the seats to go back and make sure everyone got off. So the courage that it takes to do that, and he then had to swim through water that was filled with jet fuel.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So it's really quite a story, and it's one of those unusual stories. Even though it's 16 years ago, I don't think it will ever lose it's the miracles to it, the multiple miracles that he described. It was made into a movie called Sully, starring Tom Hanks as the pilot. But there just were so many aspects of just the helpers from both the divine sense as well as the Red Cross coming in, because Dave's travels and speaking, it's been to raise money for the Red Cross. Because he talked about the blanket being given to him because, of course, that hypothermia and just freezing. So they had to take his clothes off. He's got no clothes and just freezing, and being given that blanket. And also you can see the images on YouTube, and just seeing all those ferry boats that went and rescued those passengers. I mean, you could not, and just the timing of when it was, because it wasn't yet rush hour, but the boats were there getting ready for rush hour. And also, most of the people on that flight were able-bodied. It was not a flight like going to Disney where you're filled with, lots and lots of babies and little children and grandparents. It was mostly business people and able-bodied people. There was one person in a wheelchair and one baby, I believe, uh,
Right.
was it on that flight. So he just kept talking about, all those different miracles. So it really is quite an episode to listen to. And then you can Google on YouTube and just see those visuals of the people standing on the wings of the plane, because the boats were full. The rescue, the blow up boats, or people couldn't get to them easily. So just standing on that and hoping that plane didn't go down before a ferry boat got to them. It's compelling.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes. So, Wendy, that was the rundown of the 13 episodes. Here's
Yeah.
just kind of a breakdown of some of our more popular videos and podcasts. So, to date, the most viewed video that we have is the one with Tony Rodriguez, 3,500. And behind him is Ann Tucker. She's, that was another one of those amazing episodes where her communing with the angels was
Anne's channeling is
it's
just
channeling, yeah, and her figuring out how to make contact with her angelic team is
yes.
really really super
Yeah.
cool.
So she's a beautiful voice for the angels and for the mother of creation, also, in particular. I've had the joy of being friends with Anne for years, and she was my spiritual teacher for years. So really, really a privilege to have her come
Yeah.
on channel.
And speaking of channel, the episode we talked about earlier, Yeshua, Mother Mary, and Mary Magdalene episode was for this year one of our most watched. And then a special. Then we did another special broadcast in March of 2024, channeling Yeshua. Um, and then, as I said, for podcasting, so it's kind of interesting that what's popular on the podcast isn't what's popular on YouTube necessarily.
Different audiences. Mhm.
Different audiences, yeah. So yeah, the my Lyme story was still is number one, I believe, episode. That's a surprise to me, but I'll take it. And then the live channeling with Yeshua, Mother Mary, and Mary Magdalene, 195 downloads. And then Debbie Buss, um, her episode for this year got 167, and it's tied with the Tony Rodriguez episode. Again, all that is through podcast downloads. So interesting. It's just interesting to see this stuff. We don't pay attention to it while we're broadcasting, but it's just interesting to see how the audience reacts. So, Wendy, I think you have some things to
Cool.
talk about to give away.
Yes, I would love to thank all of you for being our marvelous listeners. And I am happy to offer an autographed copy of your choice of any of my three book titles to the first three listeners who request one via my website, which is wendyrosewilliams.com. Go to the contact tab, the last tab, and include which title you would like. And you're able to read the book descriptions on Amazon.com. Look up my name there, Wendy Rose Williams. You're going to need my full name. And let me know which title you're interested in. Regression Healing 1, which is about, it's a powerful past life regression session I did for a soulmate, for my former boyfriend who woke me up spiritually, introduced me to Michael Newton, past life regression, life between lives, and then Beautiful Circle completes. I become his regressionist. So that is his session. Regression Healing 2, about Joe DiMaggio and Marilyn Monroe, and my profound journey with their spirits, since they're on the other side, as well as the Flow 1, Plymouth Plantation, which I wrote as historic fiction about colonial America, 1600s, but it's based on my profound memories of my past life there as Anne Warren Little. So let me know which title and your mailing address, so I can let you know if you are one of the first three, and I'll be happy to get that in the mail to you. I'd also love to welcome you to one of my summer group events. June 21st, I'm going to have a Zoom group session, Meet Your Spirit Guide. And Each of these programs are at 10 a.m. Pacific time, so that's 1 p.m. Eastern. Saturday, July 19th, there'll be a live channeling with the Ascended Masters and Angels where you get to ask one question: what do you most need help with? And whichever Ascended Master or Angel can most readily help you will come in and assist with that. And then Saturday, August 2nd, we'll be doing a group past life regression. So complimentary admission for the first 3 listeners who'd like to come to one of those group events, and let me know which one: Spirit Guide, Ascended Masters and Angels, or group past life regression. And again, you'll see all the detail about this on my website at wendyrosewilliams.com. So you can just go there and then email me from there.
Great. I would also like to give away some free books or free admission to one of my online group healing circles. As I mentioned, the healing circles happen every Sunday afternoon at 2 p.m. Eastern time, and you can connect via Zoom. So just reach out to me via my website at greggkirk.com. It's GREGGKIRK.com. Click the contact link. Just let me know which thing that you would like, the free admission to the online group healing circle or a copy of my book, which I can sign for you if you want. I'll mail it to you if you give me your address. So
All right. Well, thank you so much for being here, and thank you for 5 wonderful years. And just looking forward to keeping on going. We've got some marvelous guests coming up, including Mark Gober is going to join us on June 9th. He is a podcaster and an author of the Upside Down series. And Mark is just a compelling gentleman who came to this spiritual awakening in a really surprising way. He was a Wall Street trader, and to come from that background and then start exploring all these things in the psychic world with just such an open mind and heart, I think is really compelling. His podcast is one of the best deep dive produced I've ever heard. So check out his podcast, which is called Where Is My Mind? And it's about the nature of consciousness not being in our body and part of our body. And he's gone on to write, I believe, all 7 books in the Upside Down series, the End to Upside Down Thinking. I believe all of them have become bestsellers. So check out some of his material, and you may have some questions to ask that day or afterwards to join in the conversation. So that's coming up. Please join us in our Facebook group, which is Waking Up Spiritually. Check out our website at wakingupspiritually.com, and subscribe to our YouTube channel is linked here. We so appreciate you rating and reviewing us on Apple iTunes or wherever you listen to your podcasts. Visit Greg, check out his website, and look at his book and the things he has to offer at Greg, Gregg, Kirk, KIRK.com. Or please visit me at my website, wendyrosewilliams.com, where you can find out how to work together one-on-one, information regarding group events, as well as regarding my books and other activities. So thank you so much for being here. We appreciate you.
see you next month. And here's to 5 more years, Wendy.